Hello, everyone, and welcome to Remington Management. Today, we're going to talk about 10 initial steps I consider before thinking of signing a long term lease with any landlord. This is just a starting point. I highly recommend you working with a lawyer and with an AI system to assist you as much as possible throughout this very, very nerve wracking situation. Signing long term leases are always very scary. These are the first 10 things that I consider before even thinking that it is a good idea to lease anywhere. As a primary care practice, the first thing that you have to consider and know is the fact that can you sublease or not. As a primary care practice, you are basically honey for the bees. Any specialist, any type of business that benefits monetarily from having patients around, they're going to want to be around. So, if you do this the compliant way and the legal way, you can certainly sublease to specialists and to other practices to not only increase your access to revenue on a monthly basis and continue that cash flow, but also to further complete your service. For instance, if you're a pediatrician and you have, for instance, in the Bronx, there is a very, very high need for speech therapists, and you happen to rent the space to a speech therapist, not only you're getting revenue from the speech therapist, but also you are providing that service for your patients. So your patients are benefiting from a very complete experience rather than having to go to your office for primary care and then go to another office for a speech therapist. So this further cements your positioning. So for me, being able to sublease is one of the top priorities. Another thing that I consider is having a grace period on your rental payments. As you know, if you have an insurance based medical practice, insurances, they always come up with something to delay your payment, to not pay you fully, or to just not pay you. Unless you have capitated contracts and capitated contracts in which you have a lot of patients, and capitated contract means that you get paid on a monthly basis every patient that is assigned to your practice, whether that patient comes to your office or not. This is always the case. If you don't have contracts like this, your money is going to be fluctuating and is going to be very, very dependent on how many patients you see on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, and how well your back office is working, meaning your medical coder and your medical biller. If there is something in your organization that is not maximizing that revenue, then you're going to have a lot of problems with cash flow consistency. So having a grace period on your payment deadline is vital in this type of industry, especially if you're getting paid via insurance companies. The third one is space users, not limited to just a specific industry. For instance, you're not always using your medical space unless, well, you are. If you are, then that is absolutely great. You are seeing patients 24/7, or you are renting your space 24/7. That's great because that is consistent cash flow. But if you're not, you can rent your space to either production companies or any type of other event, presentations, insert X, whatever. You could use one of the many platforms are available online and put your your medical office for short-term rentals and make money from this. If you have a restricted usage for your office, then you're not going to be able to legally do this. And depending whether your landlord is very, very on top of you or not, you're going to have problems implementing any of this if you don't have a 100% control of the space usage based on the zoning of the area. Another thing that you need to consider is how compliant is the space, if it's already built, or if you have the flexibility to build a 100% compliant space. At the end of the day, you want to be compliant fully. You don't want to have any headaches with the states or with the city. So if the space is already a built-in medical practice, most likely it will be compliant, which is great. Maybe you only have to make minor modifications. But if the space was not a medical practice and you need to modify anything, you need to ensure that the landlord allows you to make those modifications without giving you too many headaches. Because if not, that is going to tank you, and that's going to slow you down, and that's going to make your ability to be more flexible, faster, more efficient. It's going to definitely make it harder. So you need to ensure that your landlord is on board with modifications and that it's not going to be a headache for you. Another thing that I consider is signage and visibility. You need to be able to market yourself. You need to be able to put yourself out there. You need to be able to put your signages. You need to be able to just paint however you want, or put the marketing materials that you want. So having a landlord, having this conversation early with your landlord and setting up expectations with them, it's really going to take you to the other level that you need, because otherwise you're going to be scrambling after you sign the lease that, well, now you can't put a signage, or you cannot have a wallpaper outside. Now you're very much limited, and you sign a 5-10 years lease, and you are being very much slowed down on your ability to market yourself and your ability to grow. So this is a conversation that needs to happen very early. 6, operating hours. My leases, I always strive to have, or I don't sign a lease unless it's 24 hours access and operation. That just gives you that much flexibility to do business, that much flexibility to grow. You are in control of the whole time of your business operations. Whether if you want to rent it late night, or if you want to stay working late night, or if you want to stay open late night. All of this, having control of your space for 24 hours makes it a lot easier for you to grow, a lot easier for you to differentiate yourself, and a lot easier to just manage your own operations and have full control of them. So operating hours are extremely important, and if you can get 24 hours, you definitely should go always for 24 hours, unless you're part of you're subleasing, or you are in a building that has to close at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m., whatever the case is. Another very important thing to consider is rent abatement and potential contingencies. So when you are in the business of primary care or medical offices that you depend on insurance, you have to get credentialed with the insurance companies. Credentialing takes a long time, and setting up the whole business takes a long time after you are in the specific location. So asking for your landlord for 3 months, 4 months, even 6 months of rent abatement is very much ideal, because if you are in an industry-based model, insurance-based model, you're not going to see one dime the first most likely 60 to 90 days. Like, the faster that you could probably see 1 cent is probably 40 days. So having that cushion of months of having free rent, basically, so you could set up your operations and lock down your contracts, it's extremely vital, because if not, you're going to be burning money from day one, and that is exactly what you don't want. You also want to have potential contingencies, because potential contingencies are going to protect you from, let's say, for some reason you didn't get credentialed with any insurance. Well, that is something that you could potentially put on one of the termination clauses of the lease to get out of that lease. Because, well, if you were thinking about an insurance model and you didn't get any contract with an insurance company, well, then you're not going to make any money. So you need to get out of that lease as soon as possible. So definitely think about potential contingencies, and definitely rent abatement for sure. Now, you need to also understand if you're paying for the taxes, just utilities and rent, or rent. Depending on the lease, you only pay for rent, you pay for rent and utilities, or you pay for rent, utilities, and taxes. You need to be very clear, very aware of what you need to be paying for. And you can negotiate at this level. No, well, you pay for the taxes, or I'll pay for the taxes, or I'll pay for the utilities, you pay for the utilities. Like, there is always room for negotiation, but usually landlords are already set with what they want to give you. But based on all of the variables that a lease can have and all of the things that you're going to be asking, this is also an opportunity for you to negotiate here. But you need to be very clear of what you're paying. Another very important thing is who handles and pays for the maintenance and the work that needs to be done to fix things in the office. Extremely important. On one end, I have on one of my leases that I am 100% responsible for absolutely everything. And even though the base payment that I am paying is probably 50% of what I should be paying for those fixes, for those maintenance work, definitely adds up. So you need to speak about this beforehand and be very, very, very clear on if it's maintenance. Well, I'll pay for it, but if it's fixing like pipes or things that the landlord should be fixing, then you should definitely negotiate this. And you should definitely be very clear and have this in writing. You should try as much as possible to have your landlord take care of absolutely everything that has to do with maintenance and fixing work. But if they give you a really, really good deal, then you can try to win them all. Now, last but not least, I just consider relocation clauses in case the building gets sold, or there is anything going on that you need to relocate. Then and SNDA and estoppel that protect your lease if the building is being sold or refinanced, condemnation and casualty, and force majeure, rent relief and termination right if the space is unusable, and operating covenants, gold arc rules. Basically, this is if you, for some reason, there is like a public health emergency, it can't stay open or whatever it is. It's always good to have certain clauses in it that will protect your business and your finances. So in a nutshell, this is it. This is what I consider to be the most important for you to first focus on. There is, of course, an array of other things, but I don't place them as high as this ones. It has worked for me. I've been in business for almost 5 years. Well, 5 years actually next month. My clinics have grown very, very, very steady. I went from having a staff of 3 people to now 25 employees and counting. So I've definitely made my mistakes for sure, but I am giving you the information based on my experience and the mistakes that I've made. So this is what I would consider to be the most important initial list. Thank you very much. Drop a comment and we'll continue the conversation.